Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Robert Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert. Alright, with the recent changes we've seen to college football into the divisions, we've recently found out that schools like Arizona, Arizona State, Utah will be leaving the Pac-12 as of right now, at the end of 2024. And this time in 2024, the Pac-12 will be down to 4 teams. So we're looking at the demise of one of the top Power 5 conferences in the nation. Some of the reasons for that is TV deals, money, the haves and the have-nots when it comes to college football, these conferences. You know, right now we have the 14 playoff. We have a committee that sets those 4 teams. Typically, we've seen those 4 teams coming out of the SEC, the Big 12, or Big 10. Well, if you look at the history of the 14 playoff, 2014, obviously through 2022, the SEC's at 11, the ACC 8, Big 10 8, Big 12 5, Pac-12 2, American 1, Independent 1. So literally, you've had to be part of the Power 5, and typically part of the Power 5, you got to be part of the SEC and the Big 10, and maybe the ACC because of Clemson. That's it. It's the haves and the have-nots. Billions of dollars TV revenue for college football. I think there's a better way to do it when it comes to these different conferences and stuff. Right now we have 11 conferences: the American, the ACC, the Big 10, the Big 12, Conference USA, MAC, Mountain West, Pacific, Pac-12, SEC, Sun Belt, and then the Indy. So for this year, going into 2023, the conference changes that we have, leaving the Conference USA is Charlotte and going to Americans. They're leaving the Conference USA and going to the American Conference. Charlotte, Florida Atlantic, North Texas, Rice, University of Alabama at Birmingham, University of Texas San Antonio. Leaving Independent and going to the Big 12 is BYU. Leaving the American and going to the Big 12 is Cincinnati, Houston, University of Central Florida. Coming to the FBS from the FCS is Jacksonville State, joining the Conference USA. Liberty and New Mexico State, both were independents before. They will be joining the Conference USA. And then Sam Houston State, coming to the FBS from the FCS, joining the Conference USA. The ones that are expected to happen for next year, and from my understanding, the Big Ten has already sent out their invites. Going to the Big 12 for next year, leaving the Pac-12 is Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah. Leaving the Pac-12 and going to the Big 10 next year is Oregon, UCLA, USC, Washington. 2 teams leaving the Big 12 to go to the SEC, which is Oklahoma and Texas. So right now we have 14 teams in the American, 14 teams in the ACC, 14 teams in Big 10, 14 in the Big 12. This is for the 2023 season. 9 Conference USA, 12 for MAC, Mountain West, Pacific, and Pac-12. 14 teams in the SEC, 14 in Sun Belt, and 4 Indies. With the announced changes for next year, we're going to have 18 Big 10 teams, 16 Big 12 teams, 16 SEC teams, 4 Pac-12 teams. In the Big 12, 18 teams in the Big 10. How in the world are those teams not going to get lost? I know there's the playoffs are expanding in 2024 to 12 teams. The idea is for all the Power 5 conference champions and then at-large bids. Yeah, but it's not going to help the non-Power 5 teams. Because if you look at last year's record, the American team, Tulane out of the American was 12-2. Out of Conference USA, University of Texas San Antonio was 11-3. Out of the Sun Belt, Troy was 12-2. South Alabama was 10-3. But of the Power 5 conferences, you've had 10 teams with 1-3 losses. ACC, Clemson, Florida State. Big 10, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. Big 12, TCU, USC out of the Pac-12. Georgia, Tennessee, and Alabama out of the SEC. Do you really think that this committee is going to put a 2-loss Tulane out of American in a 12-team playoff when Big 10 has 2 losses for Ohio State and Penn State? They're not. And I don't think there's going to be enough. You're not going to get that many of these non-Power 5 conference teams. So what I have done here, I've taken all 133 FBS teams, created 8 conferences, 16 divisions. So each team will play 8 division games. There's 8 divisions of 8 teams in a division for 11 divisions. There are 9 divisions, or 5 divisions of 9. So 8 teams in a division for 11 different divisions, 9 teams in a division for 5 divisions. The first game of the season, all the FBS teams play an FCS team. Kind of like a preseason game, week 1. Week 0 and week 1 for NCAA College Division I football, FBS team will play an FCS team. Then for the season, you have 7 division games, 4 games out of the other division in your conference. You have your 16 division winners. Your conference championship will be division versus division. Then you have your 8 teams. You basically take those 8 teams, your 8 conference champions. You would go ahead and rank those based on record, points scored, whatever. You're not going to have a committee do this. You're going to have this truly based on stats on what they've done on the field. And then those 8 teams will be your playoff teams. Some like 1 loss, most points, points differential, different records and stuff. That's going to give you 15 playoff games. Your other 25 bowl games you just take throughout like you do now. What this is going to do, it's going to separate the haves and the have-nots. So right now, the SEC, the Big Ten, they are the haves. They have the top schools. The problem is you have so many top schools in some of these conferences, they're going to play each other. They're going to cancel each other out. So at the end of the day, you might have everybody in the Big Ten with 3 losses when everybody in maybe the Big 12 has 2 losses. So now you're almost going to hurt yourself because you have too many good schools. When they start playing head-to-head, unless you take some of the head-to-heads out in the division, which then it's like, are you serious? I mean, so what I've done, like I said, is I went through all 133 schools and redid them based on region and for conferences. I've kept the same conference names as we have today, so a little bit more identifiable. So we have the MAC, we still have the Big Ten, the ACC, the Sun Belt. And then after Sun Belt, we have Conference USA, SEC, Pac-12, and Big 12. So what I've tried to do is keep whatever the majority of the schools are, whatever area, is kind of kept those with it. So like the MAC is going to be like the Northeast area. The Big Ten is going to be right around Michigan, that whole little part. ACC is going to be like through the middle of the country, like North Carolina, Virginia area. Sun Belt is going to be Florida and some of the South states. The other part of the South is going to be the SEC. So the South's kind of divided into 2 there. Conference USA will be kind of like Texas and right around that area, New Mexico area. Pac-12, obviously the Pacific 12, everything on the Pacific. And then the Big 12 is kind of going to be the middle of the United States. So I'm going to run down which schools I put in which conferences. Again, the idea behind this was instead of having like conference like the Pac-12 fail because of TV deals and stuff, and there's so much money involved in college sports, the haves and the have-nots. The Big Ten, the SEC are going to be the, up here, and everybody else is kind of scrounging for other stuff. If you look at some of the TV deals that have recently been signed, the Big Ten recently signed a 7-year, $7 billion. So there's billions of dollars being moved around here based on college football. 7 years, $7 billion for Paramount Plus, Peacock, Fox, CBS, NBC. The Big 12 signed a 6-year, $2.3 billion contract with Fox Sports, ESPN, and also streaming on ESPN Plus. Streaming is the future. I know people hate it, but streaming is the future. Almost every TV deal is going to involve streaming. I know the Pac-12 recently turned down a 5-year, $2-something billion contract, which led to a lot of these teams leaving the Pac-12 because they want a piece of that money. I honestly don't know if that's going to help or hurt the Big Ten and the SEC. All these schools defecting, and that's going to kill the Big 12 or the Pac-12. We don't want that. I think the better each conference does, the better the whole sport is. Because you're not going to have, if you have 10 gold recruits quarterbacks coming out of high school, they all can't go to the same school. They all can't always go to the same conference. I think if you have a better option, so hey, if I'm a high school football player and I want to play for a national championship, where am I going to go? There's a short list. I mean, obviously there's a short list. You know, if you go to Alabama, good shot. Ohio State, good shot. Michigan, there's a chance. Georgia, good shot. Well, here's the thing though. If you have a school that you can play closer to your area, and so these are more in like regional groups. So like, for example, MAC, Boston College, UMass, UConn, Syracuse, Buffalo, Army, Rutgers, Penn State. The other division would be Temple, Pittsburgh, Maryland, Navy, Kent State, Alcorn, West Virginia, and James Madison. You know, if you go to that select 16 schools, 2 of them have to win the division. You're going to have to win your own division. You win your own division, you have a chance to win your conference. You win one of those 16 schools will represent the MAC in the playoffs. The MAC currently doesn't have an option for the playoffs because they're not part of the Power 5. So we get rid of the Power 5. These are your 8 conferences, 16 divisions, and that's how you make the playoffs. Big 10. I have Central Michigan, Michigan State, Western Michigan, Michigan, Eastern Michigan, Toledo, Bowling Green, Notre Dame. Yes, I put Notre Dame in a conference. I know Notre Dame doesn't want to play a conference, but in this scenario, if they want to play big-time college football, they would need to be in the conference. Ohio State, Ohio, Miami of Ohio, Cincinnati, Purdue, Ball State, Indiana, and Louisville. The fact that they're more regionalized. Yeah, so this way you're going to have more regionalized. So, hey, if I'm a Michigan fan, I would be able to travel to see more games if they stay within the region. So maybe I travel 4 or 5 games versus 1 or 2. So that's going to help really help attendance in college football. It's always hundreds of thousands anyway, but you know what I mean. The ACC would be Virginia, Old Dominion, Liberty, Virginia Tech, Marshall, Kentucky, Western Kentucky, Vanderbilt, East Carolina, NC State, Duke, University of North Carolina, Wake Forest, Charlotte, Appalachian State, and Tennessee. Sun Belt would be Miami, Florida International, Florida, South Florida, Central Florida, Florida Atlantic, Florida State, South Florida. There's a lot of Florida schools. Coastal Carolina, South Carolina, Clemson, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Georgia State, Georgia Southern, and Troy. Conference USA would be basically the Texas Panhandle, Texas, and New Mexico and Arizona. Rice, Houston, Texas A&M, University of Texas San Antonio, Texas State, Texas, Baylor, TCU, Sam Houston State, North Texas, Texas Tech, UTEP, Arizona, Arizona State, SMU, New Mexico State, and New Mexico. Part of why I came up with the way I did this with regional and stuff is, one, if you're in that little piece of the country, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, you don't necessarily have to travel to go to play big-time college football. You have a school near you, why not go to that school? You still have a chance. Again, right now, if you go to Houston, or you go to Texas A&M, yeah, you're part of the Big 12, or SEC, but more than likely, you don't have a chance based on the other schools that are out there. At least here, you have a chance to win your division. You have a chance to make the playoffs. When you make the playoffs, you're going to be on TV. If you are that good at your position, you're going to be recognized. Pac-12, basically everything on the West Coast. Washington State, Oregon State, Boise State, Utah State, BYU, Nevada, California, Stanford, San Jose State, Fresno State, UCLA, USC, San Jose State, UNLV, Hawaii. What this also does for TV, if you think about primetime TV on Saturday night, you have a game that airs, let's just say 7 o'clock in the Central Standard Time Zone, or even 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 Central. You can now put a Pac-12 game on that starts at 10 Eastern. It's going to be primetime there. So it gives you that more TV room as well, which I think they do a lot of that now as well, but for the big TV packages. The Big 12, basically is the smack dab middle of the country. We have Wyoming, Colorado State, Air Force, Nebraska, Kansas State, Kansas, Oklahoma State, Tulsa, Missouri, Iowa State, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Northern Illinois, and Illinois. I just think instead of having these kids, again, these are college kids traveling from California to the East Coast for a game, which some of these, when you're a USC or UCLA and you're playing in the Big Ten, you may have to go play Rutgers. You may have to literally travel across the completely United States. Why not make it more regional, like it could be, which I think would make it better. Instead of having the haves and the have-nots, you're gonna spread that out a little bit more. Instead of having 11 conferences, you have 8. You have more of a defined schedule. You play your own division. You play within your conference. Each team plays one FCS team, excuse me. That way you don't have some schools that play that FCS team week 1, week 2. People like Alabama play it week 8 and week 9. And everybody plays it week 1. That way you don't get an advantage. Because if you're in Alabama and you play your FCS team in week 7, week 8, you just had a grueling schedule to that point. You have basically a bye week in the middle of the year where you can play your second, third string after halftime. The other teams aren't doing it because they're playing that earlier. And everyone can't play at the middle of the year. So you do it at the beginning of the year, week 1, week 0, for everyone, their first game is FCS. Do I think it'll work? I don't know. You know what? I think it's an idea. I think it's better than letting the Pac-12 just go away. Yeah, again, some of this has to do with lineage, and some of this is wanting to save it. If you look at the Big Ten has been around since 1896. The SEC's been around since 1932, the MAC 1946, the ACC 1953, the Pac-12 since 1959. A lot of history, a lot of lineage there. Sun Belt 1976. And Conference USA, the Big 12, which the Big 12 used to be the Big 8. I'm old enough to remember that, and that's sad that I'm that old. Yeah, I actually remember when the Big 12 was the Big 8, and it changed. Let's see if I can find here where that changed. Let's see how actually old I am when it comes to that. It just talks about the schools. Let's see. Yeah, it's not showing me here. I want to say it was in the 90s. I thought I had it where it was there. Alright, so if we got it here, the Big 8 was founded in 1907, ceased in 1996. The Big 12 was founded in 94 and began play in 96. So yeah, 94, early 90s. Wow, I didn't realize it's been that long. So I don't know. I just think we need to. I've said this before. I just think we need something different than what we got going on now. It's just like you're selectively choosing who's going to be in the playoffs, and you have a committee that's sitting there choosing it. I'm sorry, these people know about TV deals. These people know all the numbers. They're picking schools based on conferences. I'm sorry, they are. I mean, if you don't believe that, you're telling me 11 SEC, 8 ACC, 8 Big 10, 5 Big 12, 2 Pac-12, 1 non-Power 5 team has made the playoffs since 2014? And there's been actually a couple seasons where those non-Power 5 conferences have actually had better records than the Power 5. Not often. I think once or twice. Boise State was undefeated one year. They didn't make it. And then Cincinnati had one loss the year they made it. I do believe, if I remember correctly, maybe they were undefeated. But for the 2023-24 college football season, I will do picks again here on Robert Sports Show like I have in the past. I got away from it for a couple seasons. I'm starting to get back into it. I've done XFL, CFL, USFL this year so far, and I'll continue with NFL and college football as well. What I'm going to do is probably, of my 8 conferences I picked here, I'm probably going to pick 3 schools per conference, and those are going to be the schools that I use. And so in the reality of the world, it may be a little different, but it's going to be 24 schools. I'll pick them based on the conferences that I have here, which, you know, they could be several in the same conference in real life. And then those will be the 24 schools that I will do. So I'll do up to 24 games. Whatever games those 24 schools play is what I'll do. But that will be the 2023 Robert Sports Show NCAA college football season. Week 0 starts in 2 weeks. Stay tuned to Robert Sports Show for that preview in about 2 weeks or so. NFL coming right after that. We still have CFL going on. We still have NASCAR. Of course, pro wrestling. A lot going on Robert Sports Show over the next 4 to 5 months. Stay tuned. Lots of videos coming your way. As always, thanks for watching Robert Sports Show. And don't just have a great day. Have a spiffy day. Robert Sports Show, your YouTube leader in sports channel content.